First of all, thank you all very, very much for that welcome. And Steve, thank you. I had no idea when we first arranged this that I would end up at the birthplace of Pepsi-Cola. and I have to say I had mixed emotions. As a historian, I loved being there, and we got a number of very good pictures. As an Atlantan, I don't know what the reaction would be when they tweet a picture of me holding a Pepsi-Cola. But it's great to be here, and I'm delighted, and it was a lot of fun. I also have to say we were walking around looking at historical settings of the North Carolina primary may really matter. Remember, in 1976, Ronald Reagan had gone through a long series of defeats, and it was North Carolina which turned his campaign around. And I think that we have the potential to do very well here and to pick up a lot of delegates. And there's a practical reason I'm running. I don't give myself particularly good marks for doing this yet, but I keep working at it. I really believe that we're entering a period where we need values, innovations, and breakthroughs. And we need to have a real national dialogue about all three. And it is really hard to do, in part because the political system doesn't lend itself to it, and in part because the elite media doesn't want to do it. But the fact is, all three really matter. And I want to talk about this because I've been trying to assess this campaign, not just my part, but the whole campaign. What's worked, what hasn't worked, and why. And when I look back at why I originally started to run, I feel really inadequate in trying to get across what we need. And so let me start there. We are in so much trouble as a country that marginal changes aren't going to fix it. You know, running Obamacare slightly better is a failure. And trying to run the current Washington bureaucracy slightly better is a failure. And trying to marginally fix the current tax code is a failure. Because none of these things are working. And yet, we have a political structure which finds it very hard to talk about big ideas. In which, in fact, you get 30-second attack ads, you get debates which at times are nonsensical, in which the media person asks a question that makes no sense at all. I mean, we spent 15 minutes in one debate on contraception. And what makes it particularly outrageous is there is no proposal anywhere in America to take away contraception. Period. This is all a lie. And yet what you have on the left cannot win an honest argument. So they don't worry about it. Lincoln once said, if a man won't concede that 2 + 2 = 4, you can't win the argument because facts make no difference. Well, the elite media and Barack Obama have never contemplated that they would be limited to 2 + 2 = 4. And so this is a real challenge for us. How do we have a conversation? And part of the reason it's a challenge is, given the current economy, given the current problems, it's easy for people to become depressed and demoralized and decide they can't do anything. And that's nonsense, which I'm building a lot of my campaign around, and I would argue we should build the fall campaign around, is an American energy independence plan. Now, I think we should make this a centerpiece because it accomplishes 4 different things simultaneously. It accomplishes national security, it accomplishes jobs, it accomplishes lower prices, and it gives us an opportunity to pay off the national debt. And let me walk you through each one. First of all, and by the way, this requires that we produce about 4 million barrels of oil a day more than we do right now. So you'd have to, I only think you have to do 3 things. You have to open up offshore, you have to open up federal land, and you have to, and I think you have to go to 100% expensing for new equipment, so you could write off all investments in 1 year, so you have the most modern technology in the world. If you did those things, I believe you'd be in a position that you'd have an extraordinary increase in the amount of energy available. Now, if you take $500 billion a year that we're currently sending outside the US and you bring it back home, you create millions of jobs. So at a time when jobs are a big factor, having an American energy plan would make a big difference. We know this creates jobs because we've seen it happen in Louisiana, where they average over $80,000 a job. We know it creates jobs because in North Dakota, where they're currently having a boom, unemployment's now down to 3.5%. And that actually overstates it because there are about 16,000 jobs they can't fill in the oil field because the 3.5% unemployed don't have the right skills. So one of the proposals I'm urging every state to look at is to tie unemployment compensation to a training program. So in order to get the unemployment compensation, you actually have to be signed up for training so that we're actually improving the workforce and we don't Europeans and Japanese and Chinese and Indians. You have a problem. And you had better figure out how you are going to manage the Straits of Hormuz. I think this period where the United States has to be in charge of the entire planet or we feel bad is over. There are lots of places where lots of people get to do some of the heavy lifting. And we should be very careful to make sure that there is an American interest if we're going to get involved. And when we get involved, we should do so decisively for a specific goal with sound rules of engagement. And we should do it in a way that protects our young men and women in uniform.